Hi everyone, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a fun treat holder to go along with my card for the Stampin' Friends blog hop. Our theme for this month's blog hop was Halloween or spooky, so I made this really cute gatefold card, and it does have a belly band that slides off. Hopefully it does because I just finished making it. So I did not finish the inside on this one. I didn't get that far yet because I was wanting to work more on my project. But basically, to make this card, it is very simple. You're going to have a standard piece of cardstock, and this cardstock is going to measure, if I'm not mistaken, just look at this just so I don't tell you incorrectly. Oops, wrong side. It's going to be 5.5 by 8.5, and I say 8.5 because sometimes you'll have to trim off just a teeny smidge. But what you're going to do is you're going to score it on the long side at 2 1/4 and 6 1/2 3/8, and then you're going to fold it in. That'll give you your nice card. Now, if for some reason your ends overlap, which they sometimes do, you could just trim just a hair off, and that way you'll have a really nice card that meets in the middle instead of overlapping. And then for the belly band portion, what I did is I cut a 3 1/4 inch piece of cardstock off of the 8.5 inch side, and then I just basically wrapped it around and glued it in the back. So I don't like to score when I do these ahead of time. What I usually will tend to do, hopefully I'll be able to get this back on here. Sorry, stuck on the DSP there. Come on, Rachel. I just finished making this, so that's probably why it's not wanting to cooperate, because nothing wants to cooperate when it's on video. So what you can also do is make your belly band just a smidge bigger. That way it will slide on and off very simply. But I do have these two little things that I also stamped in Gorgeous Grape, Hava, and then Wicked, Good Time. And then I just added a few of the spiders that go along with the Wicked die. To create the Wicked, what I actually did was I cut out 2 pieces of Wicked, so the statement, in basic black, and then I cut another piece out. I believe it's called Shimmer, but I could be wrong. There's only one plain glimmer paper in, so plain meaning not colored, glimmer paper in the catalog. It's either called Champagne or it's called Sparkle. I can't remember which one. But what I did was I took some refill inks and I just dipped them on. And then I went ahead with my aqua painter and spread the ink around, kind of dabbed it off so it was dry. And then I did the same on the bottom, but I used Highland Heather. And then I just decided to leave the inside the color of the glimmer paper. And then I cut out a couple of spiders just to highlight the sentiment that I had there as well. And the panels that match on this are actually, I did them just a little bit smaller than usual because I wanted to give them a really nice border. So I believe I did these at 2 inches. Nope, actually it's 1 7/8, and then it measures by 5 3/8. So I will have all the measurements on the blog. You certainly don't need to write those down. But what I came here to show you today, so this is part of a our fun Halloween stuff, is I wanted to show you a box. And this is the treat portion. So for the Stampin' Friends blog hop, we always do a card and a project. So it could be something simple like a lollipop cover for a lollipop, or just a little treat box. But I wanted to do a box that actually is in the holiday catalog, and there's actually is a duck on this one. So it's a very simple box, and you're gonna start out with a piece of cardstock that's 10.5 by 8. And we're going to score it. I have one already cut up, but I want to show you how to score as well. This is a very simple box to make. It's a very standard card. It's usually called a 2, 4, 6, 8 box, because what you're going to do is you're going to score a 2, 4, 6, 8, but we're also going with 10 on this one. So you're scoring at 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Then you're going to turn it over and you're going to score at 2 and at 6. And that's basically it. Then you're going to fold on all of your score lines. And I will probably make another box with this. So I'm going to show you how to trim it out. And I have one already kind of prepared. But the reason I wanted to make a video for this is because the way this one is assembled is not traditional. So it does require just a little teeny bit of patience, and I have not done it yet, so I'm doing it with you, which is typically how I do all of my projects. That way you can understand what to do and what not to do. So what you're going to do is just reinforce all your folds so you have a really nice box that's super crisp. And then you're going to trim this out. So we're going to take off this entire panel and we're going to trim up to the score line on all of these, okay? So what that will get you is this. So again, we'll take these whole 2 pieces off. So you're just going to have this one little thin flap here, and then you're just going to cut up to the score lines on all the flaps, okay? So I will do this on the box and probably post a second example, but just so you know. So now, when you're creating this box, what I did was I decided to decorate it with some Designer Series paper. Now, I wanted to use this Designer Series paper that had bats on it, which I thought would be super fun, but coincidentally, I used the entire 2 sheets for another project, so I didn't have enough left. So this is just the back side of this. Actually, it's the back side of the cardstock that I used for the card. So what we did was I cut these down just a little bit smaller. So we're not going to put it on the bottom, and I'm trying to think which is the bottom. Might be that one. So what we're going to do is I want to just double check these before I adhere them, but we're going to put this on, and then I saved a little piece. I figured we could put it inside the lid or something to make it look like there were cobwebs in it. One other thing that I did, I just have a little scrap piece of gold foil, and I went ahead and I scored it down the center on my Simply Scored scoring tool, and then I snipped off just little slim pieces, and we're going to actually use these for the hinges on the box just to decorate it. I also did stamp ahead of time in Real Red and Versamark, and then I clear heat embossed it. This is Open If You Dare. This also has a coordinating die to make it cut out really simple. And then I also stamped from Everything Festive, No Tricks, No Treat. I stamped this in Gorgeous Grape, and then I went over top of the bats and the spider with the basic black marker, and then I cut this out with the stitch nested label. So those are really simple as well. So one other thing you're going to need for this, if you have it, because it'll make it look a little bit cooler, is the metallic brads. And my intention is to use 2 of the gold brads. This has all different color brads in it, so I'm trying to make sure I have 2 that match in size. So I have those 2, and you're going to need some sort of a hole punch. Now, I missed out on the whole crocodile when Stampin' Up carried it, so I ended up getting mine on Amazon from We Are Memory Keepers. But it's punches holes. It's very simple to use, has a lot of different adjustments. You might still have your crocodile, so if you do, that will be easier for this, is what I'm thinking. So what we're going to do, before I put this paper on, I want to show you kind of how we're going to put this box together. So normally when you would make this box, what you would do is, oh, and I put them on the same side. Ding dong. But it's okay, no big deal. What you're going to do normally is you would take your, I typically will fold them in so I have a nice edge. So you normally would take this, you would cut this piece off, and this is going to be your whole panel, and you're just going to make a very simple closed box like that. Now obviously you wouldn't need this extra flap. For this box, what we're doing instead is we're going to put, and I want to look at my diagram just to make sure, we're going to put this on the outside. So I should have skipped the adhesive here. So you only want adhesive on the inside. So we're going to bring the front all the way in on both of them. And then we're going to bring this side in as well. So these are going to be underneath, but we're not going to bring them all the way closed, which is why I have the adhesive on the inside. It should be on the inside instead of the outside. So I'm actually going to fold it this way. So just disregard what I flipped. It's going to make sense in a second. So we're going to fold this in. This one's going to go on the inside as well. And then this part here is where it's not going to completely go to the front, because we want this to bend, and we would like for this little flap here to rest. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this together, and we're going to put a hole right in here. So you really only need the adhesive on there just for holding things slightly together. So we're going to actually poke a hole in this with our crocodile. So we will slide this in, and then we're going to put the brad in to hold it closed. I hope that makes sense for you guys. So I'm just trying to figure out which sides we're going to put our DSP on. So we're going to put it on the front panel, on the back, on the top of the lid, because this is kind of going to be like, it looks more so, if you ask me, what I think it looks more like is a toy box, because this part is going to stay closed, and then this will just lift up, so your treat will be in there. So I hope that makes sense for you. So So this is all going to be hinged shut, and then this is going to open. So it's like a toy box opening. That's what I'm calling it, like a toy box. So what we're going to do is we're going to put DSP on everything except for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the DSP here. Just going to put some fast fuse. Oops. Dimensional backings, they always come out of nowhere, I swear. You could vacuum. This is the bottom, so we're skipping that. And you will still find dimensional backings. And you could also, if you wanted to make this look a little spookier, especially if you were going to do this on a lighter paper, you could do this on gray granite. You could do it on basic gray. You could do it on smoky slate, and then you could sponge the edges so it looked like a really old box. Okay, so we're going to bring this in. The only other thing I would say is I'm going to actually put this little piece here, just kind of for the effect of, so it looks like cobwebs. And I'm going to just put it on the top, since this isn't going to really open all the way, just kind of for a little bit more decoration, only because I have this extra piece. You could totally skip this if you don't have it. Okay, so now what we're going to do, once again, this one's going to come all the way in, and the back one's going to come in, but not necessarily all the way. And then this part is going to come up to kind of hold it in place for us, okay? So I'm going to take the backing off of both of these. We're just going to pretend like we don't have this release paper on the other side of this when I take it off. And maybe I'll figure a way to be able to remove it without ripping up the paper. Okay, so we're going to bring the front in and kind of just set it in place, just gently. We don't want to push it too hard. Same with this one. This is going to go on the inside. And then this one's going to fold down. And remember, the important part is that we want this to be like a toy box. So that's what I'm saying. This is not going to go all the way in like that. You kind of want it to stick out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to open up my crocodile. So you just have this little button that keeps it closed. And I'm going to attempt, let me see, the size of these brads. They're not terrifically big. So I'm going to try to use the smaller side. So I'm going to try putting this in. Kind of sticks out, I would say, at almost like a 45-degree angle, it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this kind of loosely, and I'm going to make sure this lines up to the front. So if you can see, that looks pretty well lined up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm squeezing all the pieces together. Hopefully I can keep this in here since I'm right-handed. This is not as easy as I thought. And let's see if I can even get that in there. Let me move this back. Try this with my other hand. Okay, so let's see if this is where I want it. Hopefully, okay, so I have a brad. So what I'm going to do is pop this through, and I'm just going to open this just to see if this looks like what I want. Worst case scenario, remember, it's just a hole. You can always cover it up. It's no big deal. So if that were to go, that's actually pretty good considering. I probably would have liked it to go a little bit farther back, but that's okay. For the first time, it's not bad. So same thing again with this one. I'm going to bring this one in and bring this down. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bring this one, I'm going to take this release paper off and see if I can't fold this piece up. Might be able to. So I'm going to kind of fold this again. This might work to my advantage, having a little bit of adhesive. Alright, so I'm going to pop this in here again and see if I can pop a hole through there. I'm going to put my brad through, just like so. Okay, and let's see what this looks like. So this one, I probably would like it back just a little bit farther, but quite honestly, I don't think that looks terrible considering. So then you have your little flap here where you could fill this with candy. I'm going to see if I can just remove this little piece. Worst case scenario, we have a little tear, and then I will just pull that out. Okay, so I was able to kind of save that part. Got a little bit of taped paper sticking up here, but I can fix that later. So there's our box, and then you can close it. Now, in order to decorate this, what you could do is one of two things. So you could have put a kind of a sentiment here, that way it'll flap down, and then you could put just a little piece of repositionable tape so it'll stay closed. But I'm not really as much worried about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my sentiment down a little bit lower, just so it kind of weighs it down. So that's going to be my goal. And then up top here, I'll just put open if you dare. We have lots of other cool stuff we can decorate this with as well. The Monster Bash enamel shapes. You can put all kinds of fun stuff up here. You can put the skull and crossbones. What I'm going to do though, so we're going to just pretend, I'm going to take, like I put all of my candy on the inside there, and just to give it a little bit of security, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of, to grab it, this is the scalloped edged basic black ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just close it with that. So remember, if you're going to do this, you want to make sure that you do it once you've filled it, okay? And you probably could tie this loose enough that you could almost slide it off. But I'm going to just tie mine with a knot. That way I can kind of move it around if I need to. And it doesn't really impede with the sentiment, but I'm going to slide it out of the way. So just make sure that's folded not too tightly. And I'm going to just give this a little bit more of an angle cut here. There we go. Okay. All right, so there's that. So then what I'm going to do is I can put this kind of down here at the bottom, and then we can put the No Tricks, Just Treats on top of it. We could also put it around again to the front. Since we have that there, I'm going to put this on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a strip of fast fuse right in the center. Hook that right there. And then I'm still going to put this one here, the open if you dare, because I think that's pretty cool. Just because it's candy and I love Halloween. All right, so now we still have just a few things. So we're going to put our little, and you could go with silver if you wanted, but I kind of wanted something that stuck out. So I'm just folding these in half. You could put these on with glue dots. Again, not all of them are even, so that's no big deal for me, but if that bothers you, you could certainly cut this with a trimmer. But I'm going to put these on just with a little bit of liquid glue, just so I can get them exactly where I want them. So I'm just going to put a little liquid glue and put these on the edge. Plus it'll help kind of tie in that gold brad. Make it look a little bit more like a treasure chest. Tell you what, I've used so much liquid glue today. I'll be surprised if I can pick up anything without not being able to let it go. I'll put them in the back. And again, the good part about these, the way they're trimmed with this little angle is, no matter what the size is of your angle, so for example this one in the back here clearly is not a 90-degree angle, but it will still hug on and look like a chest. I think that's pretty fun. You also, just as an FYI, want to use a really strong glue such as a liquid glue when you are working with foil paper or even glimmer paper, because sometimes the foil backing just does not stick really well to anything. And I know this glue is a tiny bit messy, but it does dry completely clear, so you don't have to worry about that at all. I'm just going to hold this on for a second. You could also, if you wanted to, rough this gold foil paper up with a little bit of StazOn. Basic black ink does not really stick to it terrifically well, so if you wanted to do something that was going to be a little bit more permanent, you would definitely want to stick with, whoops, StazOn. My fingers are so sticky right now. Which I know, again, and that's why a lot of people don't like Tombow, but at the same time, it really does give a nice stick. You don't have to worry about, when you have something that goes on with Tombow, you never have to worry that's going to fall off. And while I'm at it, I'm going to take just a little bit and I'm going to stick this. There you go, and that'll completely fix that. Okay, so there we have our little box. Again, since I am making this, all things do take a little bit of time to dry, so they will be on there eventually super duper well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little treat box. Again, what you could do if you wanted to, one other thing that would be fun, this is just something that comes to me as I make projects sometimes, this is kind of how it works. You could glue this ribbon down, that way once they untie it, it will stay hooked to the project. So for example, if you were to take a little bit of liquid glue, just move this to the side just a little, and put this on here, that way it's going to be centered right there. You would obviously want to do the same thing down here at the bottom a little bit. So let's just scoot this over just a little bit to the side. We'll put a little bit here. It doesn't matter today. I keep picking up the empty Tombow containers, no matter how far away I put them. Okay, so then what would happen is once this dries, all they have to do is untie the front, so you could even tie it in a bow if you wanted to, and it will stay stuck to the project. That way everything won't fall apart. And then they could just open it up and get their little treats from inside. So I hope you guys enjoyed this today. I will post all the measurements for the card and for this little treasure box on my blog. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking time to watch this video. I know I might have made it seem a little bit confusing, but I promise this is a really simple box. The hardest part probably is getting your oh my goodness, I keep forgetting what this is called, your Stamp-A-Majig in to be able to punch your hole. So there probably is a simpler way to do that if you wanted to, but I think this was really fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you would like to get any of these supplies to make this project, I would really appreciate if you stop in my online store. It's rachthestamper.stampinup.net, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the section below. Thanks for watching.